Well, hello guys. Let me just finish setting up here. Display capture, media source, window capture. Let's do here. Can we? One second. Oh, hang on one moment. That's so strange. Hmm. Mhm. There we go. That's more like it. And now, is there a way? I'm sure there's a way to hide that and show that with a shortcut key. But that's okay. I can deal with this. Yo, Desp, yeah, that's right. We're coding with no game engine, and I'm sorry, I haven't been streaming for a while because I have been working on this, and it's a game that I want to put on Steam. I want to put on Steam by Halloween. And this is going to be coded in C using OpenGL. And let me show you the game. So this is the executable I'm going to show you right now is the first version before I had to do a complete rewrite. I'm doing a complete rewrite of this engine because it started getting too big. It's just too massive and just too unwieldy, and I couldn't do anything with it. Yeah, it costs $100 to post a game on Steam, but I'm expecting to make that money back. So this is sort of a 3D version of Geometry Dash, where the world can rotate. And the world can rotate, and also gravity can flip. This is written in C with OpenGL 3.3. This one is OpenGL 2.2, but I've ported it to OpenGL 3.3. And this is completely in shaders. There's nothing else. Yes, I made this. I made this. In C, and I started coding this, and it just started. The problem is the project just started getting too big, and too unruly. Damn it. And yeah, it just became too unwieldy, and it's completely scriptable too. Here, that's the installer, but this here is the game file. It's completely scriptable. It's just that the problem is that the engine just got too squirrely, too big. So here's the problem that I have right now. So what I have right now is I have an object dot h and a material. Okay, I have these includes. The problem that we're having right now is that obj needs material and material needs obj. And as you can sort of assume, that just can't happen. We can't do that. So if you look here, I have an object, and the object struct needs a material. Okay, well that's fine. See how it's a shader program? I'm trying to move away from this shader program. I know circular dependencies suck. I'm trying to move away from the shader program because the shader program I'll explain in a second. So let's go to material.h. So if we go to material, we have our material, and the problem here isn't that the material struct needs obj, needs the object file, but it's the material use func that needs the object. So what's happening here is I make a function pointer that basically, when you have a material, you use because the way C works, foo.func, right? The thing in func can't tell what foo is. You have to do foo.func ampersand foo. So that's the problem. I need to get rid of this. I need to move that around. And the reason I have this, or the reason I'm trying to move away from the shader program, also, if you can see, I have everything on the Z drive because I actually am programming this on an external disk that is network mapped, so I can code this both on Ubuntu and Windows. I've actually been coding this in Ubuntu for the longest time. But I really wanted to get this working on Windows, and it was a bitch and a half to get OpenGL set up for Windows. I fixed circular dependencies in my engine with by just making it a shared package. Well, bruh, this is C. But let me show you in a renderer .c, so renderer and data type. So game state is the global game state struct. sPlayer is an object pointer to your player, which I grab from the game state struct. So basically, I have a subscribe and unsubscribe function. And the way this works, I had it for shared types. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna like figure this out. Basically, instead of making everything global, what you can do is you can make a static variable in a C file, which is now completely local to the C file, and you won't have to worry about it being global. So now game state is local to the renderer, and I can abuse it. So if you look here, I have render state play. I've been moving things around because I also want a menu. I want a main menu. But if you look here, I have draw player and draw platforms. And now the problem with this is I could do draw platforms. I could do then draw spikes, draw jump pads. But what I need is I need a draw object. I need an agnostic draw object function. And this is in object.h. Let me open up object.c. So create object in place, object destroy. I don't have draw object, but I will use it. So basically what I need here, what I need to do is your object oh my god, there, your object will have a material, mesh, X, Y, Z, and a rotation, and all that stuff, type. So then what I want to do is ingest all of this into a render pipeline, which will take whatever object you throw at it and render it, which means the material will be shader the uniforms and shader function. So that's what I need. And if we look here at, I'm thinking like resource manager and stuff, but I'm convinced I don't need to do the includes because it should just work. I shouldn't. Basically, what I'm a little confused about is object.h needs material, okay? I need the material. And if I go to material, I should be forward declaring the object. What's going on here? You know what? I'm actually going to delete resource manager. Let's try rebuilding this. What? Is it because I didn't save it? That's the problem with code blocks is it's actually just kind of horrendous to use. So here's the problem. It says material is not found, but if I look, material's right there. Let me just delete them from the there. Yeah, let's try opening this again. I don't understand why code blocks is like. So I downloaded the most recent version of code blocks because I love the code blocks. Well, I used to love the code blocks editor because it just works so nicely in Windows, and now it's just being a complete, dipshit because it's just horrendous to use because all these bugs keep popping up, and I don't want to keep downloading nightlies. I don't want to keep downloading nightly builds and reconfiguring it every time. I'm just trying to. Now it's saying object isn't found. Let's get rid of material. Like this is just the fight that is, it is such a fight to get this stuff built on Windows. So this is what I have so far. I have physics, and so far as I have gravity, and I don't have the update doesn't do collision detection or anything yet. Even though I have the collision detection code sort of set up. Windows does suck for development. It really does, but yet everyone uses it to game. Everyone uses it to game, and I was sort of planning on the Steam Deck for being the first platform to release on. But I think I'll just do. I'll try to do I'll try to do a Linux and an Ubuntu build. Yeah. You may wonder why I'm not using Make, like CMake, and using Visual Studio. It's because CMake is horrendous to set up on Windows. I do want to release it on Steam Deck. I think it'd be really fun. But I also don't want to limit it to just Steam Deck, but, Anyway. So this is the problem. I want to make... You should add gyroscopic controller support. I thought about... I've been thinking about it, but... Number one, I gotta make sure that the scope is small. And two, I want this is almost sort of like a rhythm game. I want you to be able to add music to it, to these maps. Sort of like Osu or Geometry Dash. So add music to it. so I want it to be snappy, like because like gyros are great nowadays, but they're not precise enough. I mean, I can add it. I just can't expect you to competitively play this with the gyroscope. It is off-brand small geometry dash. It really is 3D geometry dash sort of deal. Okay, let's figure this out. Okay, you don't port Geometry Dash to the NES. You just make a clone of it. And yes, I 100% believe that because I don't have a calculator with me, but the T84 Plus has the Impossible game cloned to it. I played the hell out of it. I think I also have a clone of Geometry Dash on the T84 Plus CE. Although it's horrendous because the screen just takes so long to update, it's really horrible to play. Anyway, okay, let's think about this. The material. So basically, this is how this works. This is how this works. So remember a union, right? A union in C works by this could be a float. So J. If my God, I can't. So basically, remember, a union works by finding the largest element, okay, and then using that as how much space to allocate on the stack for this object or whatever, right? But when you declare it or something, you can declare any other element that you have. So what's happening here is essentially polymorphism in C. So I can say I want to use the solid color. I might want to use a neon wireframe or the neon core as material. Material.solidcolor material.neon wireframe. So I have one union. I have one material that has multiple ways of doing a shader. Now this is what I have to do. Typedef void I might be able to get away with this. Don't quote me at all. Can I do this? Material has no... Can I do that? Yeah, there's no way. Okay. Now, how can this work? Basically, I need... Why does this not work? Okay. What? Right, okay. So this builds, but then if I go to object.h and I include material, it's going to explode. How would I... I think what I can try to do is this. I can go to material.h. Copy this. And okay, then I go to object, position, object type, object. I forward declare these. And then I forward declare render context. This is so hacked, dude. Oh, wait. How do I fix this? You may take help from GPT. Absolutely not. Multiple definitions of context. Object.h 19 first defined here. Well, yeah, where is render context? Implicit declaration of draw platforms. Okay, we're getting closer. We're getting closer. I think maybe it almost seemed like renderer.h with all these includes that didn't need to exist. See, it's really, it is dangerous to get have includes that you just don't need. I have a goal to make a game C++ cool graphics, but I'm noob at C++. Hey, study yourself. No worries, no worries. It doesn't matter how newbie you are. You make it. Go make it. See what happens. You can use AI to help you, but it's one of those things where you kind of need. I'm of the belief that AI should be a tool and nothing more. It should not be a crutch. Just like Stack Overflow should not be a crutch. You kind of need to understand how to code things and solve problems on your own. Because if you can't, then is there any books I should read for making a game with no engine? Stinky Fern, no. I wouldn't say there's books. Let me be clear what making a game with no engine is. You're not making a game from complete. Well, not. I'm not. I'm not making a game where I'm literally telling the computer which pixel to turn on and which pixel to turn off. I'm not making my own rendering pipeline, right? I'm using OpenGL. I'm using the Glue and FreeGlut libraries. That is what's going to do the GPU stuff. It's what's going to tell which pixels to turn on. Now, you will have to, you will have to, you will have to. I'm just pulling it up here. You will have to tell OpenGL how to, and GLM stuff, how to draw the object. Like if I go to player, like here, you do have to know how to do uniforms. You do have to know how to bind the objects and bind the mesh and stuff like that. But that's stuff you can just look up. You don't need books. You just online. Pixel checksum, 16-bit highest number. You can use GPT if you know the fundamentals of coding and just want annoying stuff like GUIs and stuff. Exactly, Pixel checksum. A good friend of mine and I have a disagreement about this. He is of the belief that as coders, it should be our duty to sort of be the bulwark against the onslaught of AI. And I do agree with him to an extent. I very much do. I personally don't know where that line is drawn because it is such a useful tool. Um, it's such a useful tool to bounce ideas off of. And I know it's not, obviously, it's not sentient and stuff. It's just, you have to be smart enough to know the code that comes out of the model to know if it's good or not. It's a tool, and I feel like it should be used as such, and no more. If you want to vibe code, I can't stop you. No one can stop you. Just, you personally know that you can't make a game from scratch if you vibe code it from scratch. Say to yourself, where you learn OpenGL from, learn OpenGL site, off from learning stuff. I'm at the middle. The OpenGL site's fine. Actually, study yourself. If you want to know how to do OpenGL, I swear to God, I'm planning on doing actual videos, but I want to do a small series of how to draw a cube in OpenGL from the easiest to the most advanced way and everything in between, and it won't be very long. Like, it'll be like 5 minutes each, and I'll be doing it. I swear this weekend I'm going to start recording them. But study yourself. I actually do have videos on my channel. If you open up a new tab and go to my channel, look at the OpenGL tutorials. They're made for the Raspberry Pi, but if you can get OpenGL working on your Windows computer or whatever, go right ahead. OpenGL works on whatever computer you've got. I show you how to draw a cube or a square and how to rotate it and how to translate and stuff. It's targeted for OpenGL 2.1, which you can totally use, but the fundamentals still exist for 3.3 and onward. Is it purely for? Is it for just that? Is it for purely just OpenGL? Hi, thanks to yourself. Thanks for the sub. Yes, it is purely for just OpenGL. I kind of do want to get into Vulkan and stuff like that, but it's a whole other bag of worms. And Vulkan is amazing, and Vulkan is the way forward. OpenGL kind of is it's a dead path. The last game that I know of, like big AAA game that uses OpenGL unironically, is Doom 2016, and we're Unk status guys. That came out 10 years ago, but yeah, I still think OpenGL is very good. Des, but you should use OpenGL. Web GPU native. Yeah, I could, and I know that there's market for games going onto the web and stuff, but I like close to the hardware with local applications. Sneaky Fern, do we need to know some vector math to draw graphics? Having to learn math made me lazy to make games. So, Sneaky Fern, yes and no. If you want to, here, I have this right here, Sneaky Fern, is an STM32 chip. And I made a 3D engine for this. I didn't make a video on it, but I made a 3D engine for this. And when I say 3D engine, I made OpenGL for this. If you're making OpenGL for something, you will have to do crazy-ass math. But if it's just you doing stuff using OpenGL that's already existing, then you don't have to do that crazy math. Now, if you want to do crazy world rotations, you may have to I need to normalize this vector and stuff, but just look it up. how to rotate world, how to rotate world around object, how to rotate camera, stuff like that. It'll tell you how. Now, I will say, when you get into the shader side of things, that gets really hairy really fast because GLSL, which is the shader language for OpenGL, the shaders tell the pixels exactly how to be colored based on their coordinates on in the world. Then you're gonna have to know how to do crazy ass math. You're gonna have to use the web to help you with that, maybe even ChatGPT, because that gets crazy super fast. Study yourself. So, what's your experience in C? And gave them stuff. I think you're a pro. Hey, thanks. Study yourself. I'm not pro at all. I've been working. I worked at Creative Microsystems for about 8 years, and I did C stuff mainly, embedded stuff, and I absolutely loved it. The last big project I made was, well, it was something like this. It was how to make an engine, and making an engine for the Raspberry Pi for crazy military stuff, and I loved it. So now it's my hobby. Oh right, Despa's correct. Yeah, join the Discord. Yo, yeah, guys. Here, let me pop on the Discord. How do I? How do I? Really quick. Copy server ID? No. 1 second. I'm not looking at your chat right yet. Invite people. Copy. Okay. There you go, guys. There's a server invite. Please join. Talk about code and computers and stuff, and Des will talk your ear off about the crazy shit he's doing. It's nice. So no worries. You can get back on track. Hey, I appreciate all the questions. I really do. Yeah, I know I need to get back on track, but I love talking to you guys. Point is, I appreciate you think I'm pro. I don't think I'm pro, but I think that's just the curse of the programmer, right? But yeah, pop over, watch my videos. I do a lot of retro stuff. I removed the background, but I have a lot of retro computers, and I really want to do more videos on that too. Anyway, where were we? Right, draw platforms. So if we go to renderer, what is this? It is imposter syndrome, it really is. We're in renderer.c. So if we go to renderer.h, whoops. What's concerning here is why does renderer.c. My God, I'm just going to close all these stupid things. Okay. Why does renderer.c know of player, the draw player function, when the draw player function is in the player.c? Where does it possibly include that? Data types. No. Renderer. Let's open up game state. Player. Let's remove player and include object.h. Part of my refactor is to basically make sure that I'm not including things I shouldn't. When you're doing small projects, especially study yourself, if you're doing small C projects, you probably don't have to worry about this. But when you're doing big things, especially in C, where circular references are a bitch, C# doesn't really have these. Stuff like that. No, Desmond, go ahead. Being super persistent on trying to get you to look at shit I'm saying, but the web GPU shit I was talking about is for C sharp and C++ and C. Yeah, no, no. That's why I'm sorry. I didn't try to blow you off there. I know what you're talking about for web GPU. Um, 1 second, just seeing if my wife is okay. She's asleep. That's good. That's good. She needs her sleep. She's allergies and stuff. Keep her up all the time. Um, I know what you're talking about web GPU. Um, and I do want to get into it. It's just add that to the stack of all these other projects I have. Um, I am very aware web GPU is really awesome. I'm not trying to diss it. Anyway, as I was saying, right, you don't want to include things that you shouldn't on big projects because it'll bite you in the butt. So if I go to renderer, I want to render the player and I want to render the platforms. So let me include them here. And then if I go to open this, utils, data types, objects. Okay, hang on. Saad Ahmed. Bro, how can I become like you? I'm learning web development, but I can't make logics and write code by myself. I have to really like watch people build this kind of stuff, and I want to be like that. Please answer, bro. Yo, Saad. I appreciate it. I'm flattered. The way to let me try to break down your question here. You're learning web development. Yep. Okay. You can't make logics and write code by yourself. Well, here's the thing, Saad. It's really hard to write code by yourself. It really is. You're going to have a few tabs open and be like, why is this error here? How do I make this work? You're going to be doing that for years. I do that at work all the time still, and I've been doing this for 12 years professionally. But as you see right now, what I'm doing, I am coding with no tab open. I have Paint open over here on my tablet, and I have OBS on my top screen. I don't have another tab open, but I will. I will use a tab if I'm really stuck. What I'm doing here is the knowledge I have acquired over years and years and years of programming. So basically, just stick to it, and you will get to it. I don't know how to make something like I know the concepts, I understand them well, I can even explain it to others and teach them, but I can't make simple, small things by myself. Okay, Saad Ahmed. Let's take a time out here from coding, and I'll talk to you, Saad, here. Okay, what I personally think, and everyone else has different opinions on this, if I want to dive into a new language or a new platform or like a new retro machine or something, make a number guessing game from scratch. Now, when I say that, like, Saad Ahmed, I want you, if you're doing C, I want you to make a number guessing game in C. It sounds really simple. It is simple, but that's the point. I want it to be simple. What it will do is it'll teach you how do you get input, how do you check input, how do you random numbers, how do you, that sort of thing. How do you keep score, how do you check to see if the game is over, things like that. Very simple, input, output. But get to the point where you can make a random number guessing game by yourself. Maybe you might look up how to generate random number in C. I can never remember how to do that in C. iChannel Gaming, CLI is my go-to. Exactly, the command line interface is my go-to. I don't bother with fancy wancy GUIs. You don't need that. You don't need that to first. I hate writing for GUIs. I'm barely writing for a GUI. I'm just writing to the screen. The reason I don't have a main menu in my game, and I'll show you guys I'll show you guys again what my game looks like. The original version before I started this rewrite. I don't even have a main menu for it. um. Here. This is my game. This is the old version from a few months ago. I'm doing the full rewrite. This I'm rewriting it because it could not hold up. The engine was just exploding. So this is basically a it's a version of it's a 3D version of Geometry Dash. And I have it all written in C, and it's written in shaders. There's shaders written. It's not There's no like texture files and stuff like that. No, that might change. It's just gravity can change. The world can flip. Ah. No. Okay. But that's what it does. Saddam, do something small first. Something very small first. Wow, you got so much as an OpenGL beginner dev. It's a dream. yeah. Thanks to iChannel Gaming. Oh, this is awesome. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm in the middle of the rewrite. So if you want to see the rewrite, I'll fix the includes. But if you want to see the rewrite, it's literally just like the cube is just dropping from the top, and I don't have any physics or anything. I try to get the materials and blah 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 working. Please try building it. I think you really should. Okay. Player. Game state, renderer, platforms. Let's try building. Oh shit. I know JavaScript, PHP, and some basic C. Oh, that's good. That's good. Bro, can you be my mentor, please? Hey, let me put here. I'm dropping the link in again. Please join the Discord. Please ask questions. I have a day job, so unfortunately can't really answer questions. Desp knows all about that. I'm sorry, bro. I do read your stuff. I just can't answer them all the time. But other people there on the Discord would probably love to help you. Desp is there a lot. He can help you out too. Okay. Let's see. So the problem I am having right now is maybe if I go to my object.h, oh, what am I doing? There, what am I doing? I don't know why I had the whole thing set up. Oh, okay, let's try that again. It's built. See, okay, there we go. As you can see, it's just it just falls straight down because I don't have collision detection. Even though collision detection is in there, it's active boundary detection and stuff. I just need to put it all together in the logic. Where are you from though? And you got some very deep voice. Oh, thanks. Saw yourself. My wife loves it. I'm from the U.S. I'm here in North Carolina. Originally from Vermont. I don't know why it took me so long. I was reading Desp playing AABB. Exactly. Desp. That's exactly what I'm trying to do for collision detection. I'm not sure how it's going to work out in like in the future where like things might be rotated. I'll have to change the math a little bit, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Hey, all this works. What's up? Please hit sub Hit subs. Let's get some subs, bro. Girls, whatever you want. I don't care. It's all fun here. Yes. Wait. OBB is rotation. Yes, and I do. Oh my god, it's been a while since I got on this thing. OBB, but rotation stuff. Source post rotation. Oh, look. Thank you. You know what? Actually, here. Let me do this. Ba-ba-da-ba. OBB is AABB, but supports rotation. Thank you. I will keep that in mind. Okay. Where was I? Renderer. Data types, player, renderer, object. Right. Control what? F9. What's the warnings? I think the warnings is something like update manager. It doesn't work, or like it's not needed. Anyway. Well, let's go to material now. So if I go to material.h, I can remove this garbage. And then I can go to material.c. So basically what happens here is in C, you can do private functions by making them static. They are local to that file. And if you separate your code into C and your includes into H, then and you keep all your statics in your C and you don't expose them in your H, then you have private functions in C. Who would have thought? This took me about 12 years to learn. So as you can see, even guys, I'm still learning stuff. Yo, I got 4 people to join. That's pretty dope. Yeah, guys. Please check out my channel too, if you want. I know like the last video I uploaded was something about my garden. But again, I will be doing OpenGL videos, and I want to get back into retro stuff. It's just too much time. Yo, Chocolate Man, what's up? MC26. When you don't speak directly into the mic, it's kind of quiet. Is it really? I'm sorry. Might just be skillish on my end. No, I think you're right. You know what? Let's look at our sound settings. Is that any better? Any louder? Okay, well, my programming tunes have completely ended. Oh, by the way, I got the LG Wing. Horrendous phone. Please don't use it. It's cool because it flips. Yes, well, it's cool because it flips, but it's horrendous because it's just so freaking slow. Like it's just so slow. as in the skin is just terrible. What the hell? Oh, so yeah, I saw you joined. Thank you so much. Please ask questions there. Ask me if you need me to add any other channels. Yo, guys. Oh, whoa, whoa. Yeah, please do the number guessing game. I think it's a fantastic way to learn. There, dropping the Discord invite again, just in case anyone else drops by really quick. Okay, let me quick. What's your name in Discord? Oh, sorry, Saad. My name is Jin Diamond. Okay, let's see here. So I have a list of things I got to be doing here. I wanted to ask you: do we have to be good at math for this, or do we use math in this? So do you mean maths in the number guessing game? The number guessing game, the only math you got to do is does X equal Y. But other than that, no. There's kind of a myth that is half true that you have to be good at math for coding. It's half true because no, you don't have to be good at math for code because the code does the math for you. Or why else would you be using computers, right? You don't use computers to do math by hand. But on the flip side is if you do more advanced things, like you do want to do 3D graphics, you want to optimize 3D graphics or do shaders and crazy shit like that, excuse my French, then you will have to be good at math. But no, generally for programming, Saad, no, you don't have to be good at math. I'm not good at math. I'm horrible at math. Mars, what is this ancient caveman editor? This editor is CodeBlocks. It's ancient, but it just got a new release too in 2025. Chocolate Man, are you using GLFW? No, I'm not using GLFW. I'm using Glue. I'm using Glue because Glue also does the shader stuff. Yeah, MC26. Yeah, CodeBlocks. I like CodeBlocks. I like it for Windows. It has the compiler that comes with a compiler and everything that you need. You don't gotta set it all up. Anyway, let's get back to this. Please keep talking. I'm not. Don't talk because blah 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 blah. Please chat. Okay, games. Date. Programming math is easy because you can learn the functions you want to use at a high level and just write the code for them. Essentially, yeah. Oh my god. Okay. So if I go to a material.h, okay. So we got that done. Create solid wireframe. And that's all I really got so far. The object checked as the material. Material.c. Okay. That looks good. Now if I go to renderer.c, I got renderer state main menu. Okay, so let me think about this. I have, here, let me bring up the page here. So right now, I have renderer.hc, and I have object.h. So renderer has the OpenGL overloads right now, and right here I have the I have draw object. Let me see if renderer has object included. Renderer has object included. Let's do this. Let's go here, copy these, okay, and paste them up here. Now, Patrick, why would we do this? We do that because we can keep these includes, sorry, there we go. We do that, what I did was I copied the include player and platforms from the renderer.h to the renderer.c, and I do that because I can keep them local to the renderer.c. So if I include renderer.h, I don't include the player, I don't include the object, I don't include the platforms because I don't need them if I'm doing the renderer. I just need to grab the rendering functions. Now, I need data types because context, no, I don't think I even need data types. I just need the game state. Yeah. it works just fine. So basically, do I do now, if I do include object, if we go to object.h, I have object create in place, draw object, and object destroy. Now, the question I have is, draw object needs both the object and the renderer context. Object and render context come from object.h. But it would make most sense for the rendering pipeline to draw the object, not the object class. Unless I have a function pointer or a call from the renderer to render to call the draw object, but that would be including the object. See, when the renderer doesn't need to know about creating in place, and it doesn't need to know about destroying an object. Right? It just doesn't need to know that. This is the difficult problem of code. So sometimes you just don't. Let me do this in object.c first and see what happens. Just make sure my wife is asleep. I'm not being too loud and waking her up. That's good. Okay, let's get some actual coding here. So, Imperial mat equals, right, I want the obj, whoops, material, you'll use program, not shader ID. So yeah, then I want to set up the generic uniforms. So basically I need to set generic uniforms. Thanks, man. Thanks. That all shaders use. Shaders will use color. They'll use the model matrix and view matrix. Model matrix, view matrix, projection matrix. This is now. So this is kind of the math that you're talking about. You got to do. But again, just look it up. Just set model view and projection matrix. Now, really quick, the model matrix is the matrix that determines where the object you're going to draw is in space. The view matrix is going to be the rotation of the space. The projection is how does the camera look. Don't quote me though. I have it written down somewhere. It's just a long thing. Uniform matrix for FV GL got uniform location, matte shader, ID, model matrix, one GL false, float model matrix. Okay, Deb, see ya. Model matrix is undeclared. Okay, let's see here. Where is player.c? Oh, right. I totally forgot. What am I doing? I gotta make model matrix. Duh. Of course you gotta make the model matrix. Okay. Now, let's do the view matrix. View. Now, if I compile this, you're going to see, well, there's no view matrix. Well, that's because the view matrix is actually going to be in the mat. Sorry. It's not mat. What am I doing? Context. It's in the render context. There. Yep. It's in the context. And then, of course, after that, you do projection. And then I got that projection matrix. And the reason every object uses this is because you have to multiply the model by the view by the projection, and then that will finally get you what you want to see at the very end. Now, this is going to be the magic that allows you to render stuff. And I'm going to have to do a switch statement here. Now, I could do like a jump table for stuff, and I probably will do that. But, render based upon object type. Switch obj. Can't type. Okay. Okay, let's see here. Now, case. case type player. Okay. Now this is where the actual code's going to go. But first, of course, let's do if Matt use it's not equal null. It's basically if you're going to actually do stuff. Then Matt use Matt obj context. So this here will pass your material object and context structs into the function pointer, and that function pointer is set to one of these, which there you go. It'll now do individual stuff. Objects, there we go. So then my God, gets to be around midnight and chat just dies. Yo, man, let's get some subs. What's going on? By the way, guys, if anyone, those who are still here, please tell me, how did you find this stream? I'm always curious. How did you actually even find this? Well, let's go. Yo, Nemo, just appeared on your feed and home page. Really? That's crazy. Okay. I know that's what people say. It just pops up in their home feed, and I'm like, that's nuts. Remote compiler I'm using the Min GW. It's GCC compiler. It's essentially GCC, but it's wrapped for Windows. Okay, let me just just make this a little more agnostic. There we go. The algorithm recommended because I'm learning Raylib. Raylib, Chocolate Man, what is Raylib? Raylib is cross-platform open source software development library. Library is made to create graphical applications and games. Using OpenGL for the graphics library. Yes, Nemo. I'm using OpenGL for the graphics library. Man, that's it. I'm using CGLM for like the math because I don't want to make the functions myself. Also, did you know CGLM uses like intrinsics and stuff for your CPU to like really boost the performance? It uses like SSE 2.1 and onward. It can use AVX and stuff. It's really crazy. Okay, Raylib, that's kind of fun. Can Raylib, so for embedded, I do LVGL, which I've made an OpenGL engine for. It's kind of nuts. I really should show it one day on stream or something. I gotta rewrite it though. It's trash. I have rendering problems where like the fragment shader doesn't really work. yes, I did write a fragment shader for an STM32 chip. Okay. Okay. So I like people like you building some cool stuff like this. I really don't understand what you are coding. It inspires me a lot. Watch people build engines and OS. That's a crazy shit from scratch. Have you done a lot of SimD? Um, Chocolate Man, I love SimD. Single instruction, multiple data. That's where you, for those of you who don't know, it's where you do one instruction, but it is applied to a bunch of data, and it's just one clock cycle or whatever, or it just does everything. Saad Ahmed, Minas, I apologize if I'm using your middle name wrong. Um, as you can see, I'm very American. I'm making a game. I'm making Chocolate Man, I'll get back to you, don't worry. But I'm making a game, Saad. This is the game I'm making. Again, this is the version 1 before I did the rewrite, which is, I'm doing the rewrite right now. Completely scriptable. Done. I'm also Chocolate Man. I'm also learning Direct 3D, DXL or DX11. I'm afraid a wrapper for Audio STL. Yeah, yeah. And you're making it without an engine. That's really inspiring. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. When I say I'm making it without an engine, I'm making my own engine. But now that may seem really crazy, but for something so simple, like look at this. Objectively, I just need to render some blocks into cone and have some basic physics. It doesn't take much. I don't need Unity. I don't need Unreal. I don't need Godot or, Game Maker. I don't need all that stuff. Meanwhile, it does remind, yeah, I want to do this. I want to make this game. It's a 3D version of Geometry Dash where the gravity can shift, the camera will rotate, and stuff like that. And I have a whole bunch of ideas for it, and I want to get a playable version out by Halloween. It'll cost $350. It'll cost $3.50. Just so the Loch Ness monster won't attack you. But yeah. And I honestly just hope to make my $100 back from Valve. But other than that, I mean, I'd like to support it, like to continue making it and make some sequels or whatever. I just want to make it, yeah, it's a bit like Ron, yeah. Chocolate Man, you're asking about SimD. I can finally talk about it because Intel added it to the chips, but the latest Intel chips, even though Intel is burning down as we speak, have a block in them that does it's made for AI. It's called, I don't know what it's called now, but there were shave cores. One second. Do I need to know all DSA for getting in turn? I am my software. You're in college. Also, can you make better optimization decisions? You know what, Chocolate Man? Screw you. I'll try to. What is DSA? Data structure? Is that what that is? Data structure algorithms? I would say so. I didn't do anything for my internship. My internship was a couple months and they hired me. My internship, my resume was I programmed graphing calculators, and then they're like, yeah, bro, come on in. It depends on where you go. It really does depend on where you go. generally for young bucks like you, Stinky Fern, if you find the right company and you are enthusiastic enough, they'll let you win. Because a good company will understand that you are young, you're going to make mistakes, you don't know anything. No, I'm not saying you're stupid, you just don't know anything for production code and stuff like that. But a good company will be willing to help you learn. Many companies will be like, not even strictly on job site training, they'll allow you to fuck around and make mistakes and stuff like that. Just gotta find the right company. Made a maze game with OpenJava, and I'm currently using Godot, and knowledge I got would be with me for life is value, especially for shaders. Exactly, Nemo. Yeah. Chocolate Man, hey, no worries. I'm being a little facetious here. Chocolate Man, to continue, sorry, the Intel story. There is a meant that with an engine you can't make as many optimization decisions. Exactly. Yeah, you're kind of at the whim of whatever is there in the code, man. If it's there in the air, magnets, how they work. You're at the whim of the engine. You really are, and isn't that why Unreal sucks, right? But as for the SIMD, if you ever heard of the Myriad X, the Myriad was a company that Intel bought, and it has their blocks in their CPUs now, and there's these little teeny cores called shave units. Shave is like a something. It's a RISC-V chip, RISC-V core that the Myriad that we used to develop on had 16 of these shave units where you could do a ring. You could do a ring architecture where you could it's meant for like image processing really, where you send an image to the RAM on it, and then you have a filter on one core and it gets sent to the next filter core and it gets sent to the next core and it keeps building and it just automatically goes through, so you get like super real time stuff. And another version was you get other architecture. It was like multi-core. You could set up as multi-core that each core would run the same code, but SIMD each core would run the same code. That that architecture is now baked into modern Intel chips. I don't know how to develop for it on modern Intel chips, but I love it. Oh my god, I loved it so much. It was so cool. I'm gonna spurg the fuck out for a little bit here, okay? If you don't mind. It was a very long instruction word architecture. And how long is that instruction word? It was 128 bits. There were instructions. Yo, Desp, I'm spurging the hell out right now. On there, some instructions were 16 bits long, other instructions were 32 bits, or maybe 24 bits, or maybe even 64 bits long. But the way it worked was, if you could fit, like, say the math block and then the memory loading block, if I could fit an instruction that was 64 bits for the memory loading block and then add on a 16-bit instruction for the math block, and then I had another instruction that was like testing a register to jump, that was another like 32, I could have all those instructions run in one clock cycle. Well, sorry, it'll start the pipeline. I could have 3 instructions start. The load instruction will take 6 cycles. So 6 lines down, that load is done. So if I load memory into register 1, 6 lines down, register 1 is now ready to use. If I wanted to add something, it'll take 1 cycle. So the next line, that register is ready to use. The jump might take 3 cycles. So I could jump, but while it's jumping, that addition cycle will still run. So you can optimize the fuck out of it. And you could do SIMD, like I could do great swizzles and multiplications and stuff. That there was this one function that was like a matrix rotation that we never got to use, but I was like, bro, it had hardware level matrix rotation in the registers. Like, holy fuck. It was so cool. It was 4x4 floating point 16 rotation. And I think it took like 7 cycles to run. And Oh my god, I love that chip. I love that chip, the Myriad X chip. But unfortunately, I left the company and I don't have access to the hardware anymore. But that hardware does exist on the latest Intel chips. Whether or not that's exposed to developers to develop for, I don't know. But oh, I just the SIND stuff like that just gets my nerd just going like no other. I absolutely loved that project. I had one of my uh, one of my tasks was to port a some image manipulation program written in C by one of my supervisor, and I was supposed to port that into the assembly language for this chip because the C compiler for that chip only did one instruction per line. It was not smart enough. Maybe we didn't know how to use the compiler correctly, but it wasn't smart enough to group instructions together to run at the same time. So if you want to make it run faster, you had to do it yourself. So what I did was I printed his program out on 6 sheets of large like A4 paper, and I taped them all together into like a big scroll. And I was there for days with a pencil, like with a pen and pencil, going through line by line, going from C to assembly, porting it. It was like the it was one of the highlights of my previous job. It truly was. Yeah, CPUs are fast these days. It's crazy. It is crazy. But then being able to run like such powerful instructions um, in such little time, in such little clock cycles is also nuts. And this is the CPU. This was meant to be. This was meant to be. This thing, right? And the chip was 3 millimeters by 3 millimeters, and it took like zero point 0.5 watts to run. And it had 2 Leon cores, which is 2 like cut down ARM cores that ran an RTOS on it. So you could program C for that, but then it had the 16 shave cores. When was that? That was 20. That was 2021, I think. No, it's 2020. It's hard to remember. I think it was like 2020, the year of 2020. I think. Yeah, 2019 or 2020, and then throughout 2021, I sort of like would help my coworker. He still works there. Great dude, Brendan Adamzak. Uh, I would help him whenever he needed it. Um, 1 second. Here, let me drop his channel in there. That's his channel. Brendan Adamzak. He was my coworker. He's still a very dear friend to me. You may think I'm good, but if you think I'm good, this dude is a god in terms of programming ability. Mad Advice tea. So is this the chip that let you do multiple threads, but it was very small? Yeah, it was. Well, not multiple threads. It could do multiple threads, but we didn't generally use it as multiple threads. If I'm remembering correctly, we did it as in the pipeline. So we had one core do one algorithm like on video, right? So you would feed the video through live. So it would work on the first frame and then send that frame to the next core, and then that core will do part of the basically it'll just cycle right through. So it was like 16 frames latency, but super fast. So it wasn't, but yeah. My game engine would make me probably on a high list. Yeah, Des, but I think you're pretty good. You're pretty good, dude. like really good. Not even pretty good. You're really good. Nemo. Yeah, I may be good, but my coworker Brendan Adamsack, who's got the channel I just sent you all, he said, "Screw this architecture." He made his own pipeline and made this chip do any. I don't remember what pipeline it was, but he made a new pipeline. He called it the shit. He wanted to call it the shit pipeline, SHIT, and it stood for something. But because it was a company we're working for, he couldn't say that, so he changed it to ship pipeline. But the joke was, it's the shit pipeline. And at that point, you're bound by hardware, not bound by software. You're bound by hardware limitations. And that motherfucker, he was up to the oddest hours of the night. He was in work at 5 a.m. reading this 5,000 page PDF about this chip, multiple PDFs, and I'm just like, bro, I wish I could be you. Yeah, saved a lot of performance because it wouldn't waste time going back and forth. Exactly. Yeah, you just cycle. It just go right through. You just push right through. The biggest latency was actually, I think, if I remember correctly, was getting stuff in and out of memory, because this chip had its own memory. It wasn't like attached to the RAM, the system RAM. You had like 7 megabytes or something of like on-chip memory that you had to like load. Now, in the C, there was like a lot of, I think there's some function that would do that for you, but you just had to be aware of it. Yeah, he was definitely a 10x developer. He is probably a 100x developer. Dude, that company is riding on him, like that company is riding on his shoulders. He's so good that he was. I don't work there anymore. I can't say exactly what happened, but he did some crazy shit like learning VHDL, right, hardware description language, for an FPGA because some contractor dropped the ball on something, and he stayed. He had an air mattress in the office at work, and he slept there, and he learned how to do FPGA development in like 6 months, and then he just fucked off to Japan for like a couple months. And then he came back, and but he could because he's just so good, you know. I would love to be that guy. I would love to be him in terms of code. I really inspiring. He does it for the love of code, not because of the company. Just the love of the people and the love of code. Yeah, you call it a 100x developer? Yeah, brah. Okay, let's change this. Makes you wonder what hardware architecture is possible in just a CPU for graphics processing. It is actually incredible how much the CPU can do. Now, be aware, when I say that, I'm talking about like just simple 3D stuff. Shading is completely different. You kind of need a GPU to shade. But if you want to do vertex stuff, line drawing, like, you know, wireframe stuff, the CPU is perfectly acceptable. You ever heard of Temple OS? You know, if that was written by the schizo Terry Davis, rest his soul, he's an amazing dude. But he had a 3D library written for the CPU. Colibri OS also, I think, uses the CPU. If I want to start coding so I can make video games, should I learn C++? Kernel? Yeah, sorry. Kernel? I'm sorry, the screen's a little far away. Yeah, Camel? Yeah, C++ is a very good language to learn. I would highly recommend that. Yo, guys, check this shit out. Yeah, this book, Learning Temple OS. This book, it's not written by Terry Davis, but it's written by his fans. It's written by a fan, and it goes over how to use Temple OS, how to program in Holy C and stuff. Uh, yeah, like how to do how to do that, how to do stuff in Holy C. Um, I have a ThinkPad that I want to make my temple, my local temple. Um, did he kill himself? Yeah, he did. Unfortunately, the schizophrenia was just too much, and I know people nowadays might be like, "Oh, everyone loved Terry. He was amazing. It was so sad when he died," and it was sad when he died, but people were really mean to him. I mean, they were very cruel to him, which is why he killed himself. I think. I mean, he was berated by his detractors and stuff online. Um, yeah, that was extremely unfortunate. The best things I have seen from him are the McDonald's interview and the hardest question in programming. If you look it up on YouTube, use headphones. The hardest question in programming, Terry Davis. He'll tell you what the hardest question in programming is. Role model, obviously, is maybe not the best word, but he is a great role model for coding, specifically for coding. If Terry can do it, anyone can, or actually no one can. um, his choice of language, but he had good heart and crazy. He was crazy talented. Yeah, language he made. Yeah, C++ clone. Uh, Damn, he would be really pissed if you said C++ clone. It is a C clone, Holy C. He really did speak like a gamer. I mean, the term glowy came from him, and glowy is like used all the time now. Uh, it wasn't C++. It was C with extra stuff. Think of it as Objective C. He didn't like inheritance. He didn't like that sort of thing. Yeah. I say C++ because the classes. Yeah, it does. Yeah, yeah. Let's copy this BS. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. I kind of want to really blame him for speaking like a gamer, though. Can you run your game? Hidden Builder? Let me show you what happens when I run my game. First of all, it doesn't compile. That's what's going on. See, I'm rewriting the engine, so when the engine doesn't work, the game doesn't work. But Hidden Builder, I do have an early build of my game. This is the one I did before the rewrite. Here we go. Again, this is all written in C. This is sort of a sort of Geometry Dash clone, but I want it to be 3D, and I want the world to rotate, the camera to rotate, gravity to switch, that sort of thing, and completely scriptable. As you can see here, this is the level 1 that I have for the OG game. It's completely scriptable. I don't have a level editor, which I need to add because holy shit, it is really terrible trying to make these levels in your head. That definitely needs to be a thing. You guys, please sub, and stuff. Please sub, like and all that. And here is the Discord that I have that I think all of you should join, and stuff. I'm there sometimes. Destin's there all the time. The more people we have, the more lively it will be. Do you think that the fragment part of the graphics programming is the part that will always need GPU because of sheer amount of throughput? Nemo, you're exactly correct. It's just there are like some giant CPUs now, like, you know, the 96 core Epic and stuff like that I think you can run Quake on playably, but at that point it's essentially GPU anyway. It's not, but it's essentially GPU anyway because you just need the throughput, you need the shader cores, you need a purpose-built machine for that. CPUs, now remember this, the difference between a GPU and a CPU. I can make a CPU with like 10 billion cores. I can't, but one could. The difference here is CPUs do branching very well. GPUs do not branch well at all. That's why it's a pipeline. Just goes right through. So the logic will always need to be handled by something that can do branching well. Rendering needs to be fast. So less branching, the better. Incompatible types. Serial versus parallel, so that one CPU your friend made was fixed function and branchless, kind of like a GPU and CPU. It was well, let's back up a bit. Um, it wasn't fixed function because it could branch. Part of the whole gimmick was it could branch crazily. It could branch as good as any CPU. It's that each core would branch individually. Think of it as 16 RISC CPUs put together. It was 16 RISC CPUs put together on a package that were pipelined together. That's what it was. It wasn't a GPU, it was 16 very small RISC CPUs. And when I say RISC, it wasn't RISC-V. RISC as a reduced instruction set. God damn, that instruction set had a ton of shit, but it was reduced. There was like 5 like blocks of instructions you could do, block types, and then there was invert, add, swizzle, multiply, jump, branch, all that stuff. Ugh, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing? Why is this not working? Passing argument theory of object creating place makes pointer from integer without a cast. Oh. Interesting. So more powerful cores than any on a CPU. No, okay, was it just as powerful as CPU cores? What was the difference? I'm not too familiar with different instruction sets. Okay, so let me try to explain this. Your x86, like your Intel or AMD, is CISC. It is complex instruction set. It has thousands of instructions, and these instructions, I think the longest instruction you can make is like 255 bytes, which is stupid. These cores were RISC. The longest instruction you can make was 128 bits, reduced. It was very reduced. It wasn't more powerful by any stretch of the means, but it was much more focused on certain things. It was manufactured, and the physical architecture was designed so it could do things like take vectors of 120 bits wide, which you could then create. You could say this is a 128-bit number, this is two 64-bit numbers, this is for 32-bit numbers, this is 16-bit numbers, this is 16 8-bit numbers. You could slice up that big chunk of data and then do additions, shuffles, rotations, multiplications, square roots on each one of those blocks of data. And these instructions would take very few instructions, very few clock cycles. Hang on, I'm going to get into the rest of your thing. The biggest piece of data it could do is 128 bits wide. And in fact, if you look at the vector extension unit on RISC-V processors, it's also 128-bit unit, 28 bits, which is the widest number it can do. It was good at math and nothing else. It was good at addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Well, division actually sucked balls. It was terrible at division. The best way to do division was actually to multiply by a reciprocal. That was a whole other thing. Don't worry about it. It was good at taking non-floating point, non-IEEE floating point numbers and doing math on them. Now, it could do floating point stuff, but that required other instructions. It could do floating point, but basically it was good at taking data from your RAM and doing stuff on it and then putting it back out. Now remember, Nemo, this chip, when I say this chip was 3 millimeters by 3 millimeters, this isn't a chip that you slot into an existing system. This was the chip for your entire system. This was the chip that you run your program on. Everything. Like it instead of like, like your Raspberry Pi or your Windows, your desktop CPU, you run everything on this CPU that is 3 millimeters by 3 millimeters and takes under a watt of power. That's the other thing. Remember, it was under a watt. That was the purpose of us using it. For the purpose we needed it, we needed to have very low power. So was it more powerful than a GPU? No, not by any stretch of the means. Its power draw was way too low for that. It ran at like maybe 200 megahertz, I think. It wasn't powerful at all in that sense. But for the amount of power it took, for the speed and package size, it was unrivaled. GPUs generally do floating point 16, FP16. Some do FP24 or 32, but not really any more than that. Because for games and stuff, you just don't need that much precision. So if you ever try doing like fractal rendering on a GPU, like fractal rendering that you and I would program, it's horrendous because the floating point numbers are too small. They're not big enough for good rendering to happen. Pound for pound champion, yes, pound for pound. It was at the time in 2021, it was unrivaled. I don't know about now. The RISC-V instruction set, vector unit instruction set, and math, the math, arithmetic unit instruction set can rival it, but it's not the same. PSX rendering, yeah. RISC falls through the transistor logic gates faster due to less complexity and internal CPU branching. Yep, exactly, Mystic Coder. Yeah. I don't know if you can buy those chips individually anymore. They're hundreds of dollars. You and I could never buy them, and we would never need them for anything. Incompatible types. Oh. I know what's wrong. Built. Now let's see if it runs. Yeah, nothing happens because it's not drawing anything. Nothing's created correctly. Oh. This has been very productive, not gonna lie. I should probably do this more often. Um, I should stream this development more often. I've actually gotten a lot of fixes. Huh. For explanation, I need hardware not to my difference between GPU and CPU core size, but difference in serial parallel. Yeah. No worries. Wrap up. Yeah, it's a CPU, but it's a very specific use case for the CPU. What's the editor I'm using? Mystic Coding. I'm using CodeBlocks. CodeBlocks has been around for a long time. I love it for Windows because it comes with a compiler and it has a good, questionable, it has good interface for linking libraries. It's a lot easier than trying to use CMake, essentially, for Windows, in my experience. And it just released a new build, 25.03. But you know, some people hate it. I totally understand it. I totally understand why you would hate it. Okay, I'm sort of slowing down here toward the end of the night. I do gotta get up for work at some point soon. Go to sleep to get up for work. Okay, so basically make material. Yeah, no worries, Mr. Coder. Please ask questions. Yeah, please ask questions, guys. Um. Basically, where I'm at right now is how do I put the material into create in place, and then once that's done, how do I use the material in the rendering pipeline, and then after that, I'll look through the includes, make sure everything's refactored correctly, make sure things are in place that I want. Then I will work on the actual gameplay, like I don't know how to get how the gameplay make the thing move forward, make the camera follow the object. Then I'll make sure the scripting works, make sure the world rotations work, and then oh my god, finally then we can do a level editor, and then we can make levels. Luma, how did I learn C? Well, I learned C by way of the Arduino. I don't have an Arduino on my desk right now, but the Arduino, I'll tell you what I'm talking about. This thing, it's a little teeny board that runs on an Atmel ATmega 328p chip. Sorry. You connect it up to your computer with a USB cable, and basically you write code for it, and you compile it, and you send it over to this board, and it will toggle these pins. And well, what's the point of that? Well, you can turn on the light, you can read sensor data, you can move motors, you can do whatever you want. And it is a microcontroller, so it very much lends itself well to C. And the C dialect, and the libraries that it uses are so beginner friendly. It is insane. Highly recommend doing this. It costs like $20 or something on Amazon to get a kit, and just learn how do I turn a light on and off with code. And then from there I went to how to do C on the computer, stuff like that. And then my work actually required me to learn C. I did C Sharp, Visual Basic, that sort of thing, screw around with that. But then C is really what I lived for. Not so much C++, but I did have to use C++ for the big boy version of the Arduino, which is the STM32. This here is a STM32F7, which is essentially an Arduino, but it's a lot more powerful, has a lot more memory on board, a lot more pins, a lot more features, and you would use C++ for it. Now you can use C++ for Arduino. You can use C++ for the Arduino. Don't get me wrong, but I learned C first. You have an R4, but you never used it. I thought I had an R4 on my thing. So self-taught. It was self-taught. Back in my day, I learned C before there was AI, and I liked it. It was all self-taught. I did go to college for computer programming, but I failed. I failed my second semester, and I only did Java 101. Luma, please use your Arduino R4. The R4 is much more powerful than the V3. Self-taught is the only way to do, yeah. But it is more powerful. It has more RAM and stuff. Please use it. It's fun to learn. I like the V3 will always hold a place in my heart because it's an 8-bit chip. The new one I think is 32-bit, and that's too many bits. I don't need all those bits. But I love using it. Well, it's almost 1 o'clock. I gotta get going to bed. I gotta go to work. Here's the Discord. Please join the Discord. Just click invite. A bunch of us are there. Desp is always there. This was really fun. This was very productive. All Arduinos are useful in the program. Same way. Yeah, they are mostly. I have my own tool chain for Arduino now. I like doing actual scene assembly for them. But anyway, yeah, this was very productive for me. It was very entertaining. I love talking to you guys, and I will probably be on tomorrow. Really quick, CodeBlocks of Visual Studio. Visual Studio Code does not have a compiler with it. CodeBlocks does usually come with a compiler that you can have. Other than that, CodeBlocks is an executable based solely for the Windows. Visual Studio Code is based on a web app which can run on pretty much any architecture. And for the party, can't wait for the party, but subscribe, watch your next lives. Thanks, man. Thanks guys. See ya, and I'll actually go to bed. Good night.